All right, the first lesson in our series on the World Wars is titled World War I Begins. And the first section is titled Causes of World War I. Now, underneath the title, there's always going to be a key question that is going to be answered in the paragraph below. So what conditions led to war? So in this paragraph, we should find out what conditions led to World War I starting. Let's go ahead and start reading right here. 4 main factors led to the outbreak of World War I in Europe. The first was nationalism. I'm going to go ahead and circle these as we're reading. All right, so the first was nationalism. That's the belief that the interest of a single country were more important than cooperation among countries, and this led to competition. So in other words, nationalism is the idea that your country is the best country, and we're not really worried so much about other countries. We're just focused on our country and how great that country is. And so a lot of times when you're not worried about others, sometimes that can lead to competition. If you don't work together, sometimes you're going to work against each other. All right. The second cause was imperialism. So countries tried to increase their power and influence around the world. This led to conflicts among them. So this is the idea that a country wants to become an empire, and they want to go sometimes overseas. They want to go somewhere to start a colony. That way, they can use that colony for power and influence, and also a way to make money. But there's only so many colonies out there, and so this would often lead to conflicts among them. If 2 countries want the same colony, there's going to be some competition, and it may lead ultimately to conflict. The third main cause was militarism. Militarism meant building up armies, navies, and other armed forces. It also meant using them as a tool for negotiating with other countries. So you got to build up your army. Now, how do you do that? How do you build up your army, your navy, and other armed forces? Well, for your army, really in all the armed forces, you're going to need people. You're going to need people to volunteer for the army. Sometimes you're going to need to draft people into the army. So we're going to have to add people. Also have to, add supplies. They have to make more guns, more weapons, more tanks, more airplanes. All of these, different things when they talking about building up, literally building, and then sometimes also adding people. But this meant sometimes they would use them as a tool for negotiating. So in other words, maybe they didn't really build their military up hoping to use it, but instead they built their military up so that no one, could attack them. But if all of the countries build up their militaries too large, and then something happens and they end up going to war, this could be a really bad war because everyone's got such a large military. The fourth cause was the alliance system. So alliances. Some countries in Europe had made treaties promising to defend each other. These mutual defense treaties placed European countries in 2 main groups. You had the Allies, and then you also have the Central Powers. And the reason they formed into 2 teams is because when one country went to war, if they had an alliance with another country, then it would force that country to go to war as well. And basically, at this time in Europe, all of the countries had a treaty or an alliance with somebody else. And so when 2 countries go to war, that meant everyone was going to go to war. Now, the Allies were made up of France, Great Britain, and Russia, while the Central Powers were made up of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire. Now, let's take a look at the question. It says, name the 4 main causes of World War I. All right, so that would be number 1, nationalism. Okay, number 2 would be imperialism. Number 3 would be militarism. And then number 4, alliances. So the answer to our question, name the 4 main causes of World War I. It would be militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. And notice how the first letter of each one of those spells main. Militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. That's how you get your 4 main causes of World War I.